Okay. Good morning. The Building and Facilities Construction Committee meeting of Wednesday, March 19th, 2025 will begin. We have a quorum, and just for the convenience of the recorder, I'll go around and please state your name. Shirley Mazinski, Chairman.
Linda Brown.
Ray McClots.
Fred Fontaine.
Bob Ormy.
And Mr. Wojcik is with us
We get the time to the.
at 10, what is it up there?
6.
10:06.
10:06, thank you. All right. So Matt, what can you tell us about the highway building project?
I'm trying to stage a demonstration here in a second.
And Mr. Benoit is joining us.
Hello, sorry I'm late. Fell out from select board last night.
I had further to drive than you did, and I was on time.
Yeah. Sorry, just following up with everything from last night.
If you could put the microphone towards your mouth.
Thanks, Linda.
We have scheduled the dam inspection,
Good.
so we're in the queue. I don't have a date. So in other words, I go to the engineering firm, I say, we have an order to proceed to do the inspection. We're in their queue, I'll check in with them again. I'm giving them a day or two to get themselves organized. And as far as we believe that it will be the last pre-purchase analysis that we'll conduct. We'll sit down with different stakeholders in town with that conceptual piece, once the dam inspection goes forward, to try to answer questions before things get to progress too far. And then I think we'll come back here. We have a whole lot of checkpoints before we do the closing, which is a weird closing, right? Because it's going to be the filing of a taking and all the rest of it. But I think we're in a real good spot there. We were able to work with the designer to orient the proposed building in such a way that the existing house will be basically it'll be your front office almost, like, I'm trying to think of another business that's organized this way, but it is what it is, right? It's a nice little cozy office structure with a garage behind it, big cold storage garage. And that helps us reprogram space and delete cost from the building. So we're not building space that we'll program for office use, because it's a little bit more expensive on a per square foot basis. So you're taking that out of the project. But the way the building's going to be situated, if in the future the town decides to expand and get rid of the little house and build out the front, you would have plenty of room for a slab, and you would be actually moving away from the property line. You'd be moving towards the center of the lot. So I think it's got a mind towards the future, and at present it eliminates some cost items that are, so I think we're in a good place with it.
So you were going to be checking with the state as to whether the present building had to have, or was allowed to have, there was some discrepancy.
Yeah, I remember saying that. We haven't done that check-in yet, but I think the designer was taking an abundance of caution. I think we'll probably call the building storage and other things, and you might still see the clerk in the main structure, just so that we can say that the public interaction. So if you're going there to, God forbid, what you would be doing, filing a complaint about a pothole, or you would be going to the main building, which would be all on one level with big wide doors. You wouldn't be interacting with the smaller building.
Well,
But so
you're talking
basically,
about ADA compliance here,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
We have all kinds of spaces that are employee only, so we're probably going to designate the space employee only. But the first floor, because of the way it's set up on that house, would still be ADA compliant. We'd set it up that way.
Okay. Anyone else, questions?
So the house will be, I mean, the new structure will be on the same parcel as the existing house?
Yep. So if memory serves you,
Yep.
just imagine the house is sort of in front of a long metal garage, about a third of the way up from one edge, with about 2/3 of it on the other edge going towards where there's a hill now. The hill's going to be flattened out, right? The trees cut down, so it'll be a flat space. The other piece of the project that we've been working with the designers on, and I think they finally are making sense on this, both of the crossings will be done with precast culverts, which should dramatically reduce the expense, and they will both be wide enough for 2 DPW-sized vehicles to cross each other. There's no reason to have, basically building a bridge that's going to be 6 feet long. That's nutty. It really is nutty. Now, obviously, that will have to be vetted fully through conservation, DEP, and everyone else, but people who do this for a living think it's a pretty easy shot. So that's where we're at.
Anyone else? You good? Okay, so this will continue on our agenda. And we'll be discussing this more. Okay. Number 2, recommendations to the Board of Selectmen regarding restrictions to place on the sale of the old grammar school at 11 Gleason Court. What?
So I think for your next agenda, Madam Chair, this could be written up as review of RFP for 11 Gleason Court. Because we've got to get it finished. We've got to get it out. My thought, I was trying to get this out next week, but obviously I'm delayed. So we've taken the minutes from this committee's meeting and incorporated them into the description of the restrictions on the property. And just so you'll see that, and we'll flag it for you because that was your input. I'm trying to make sure that all of our disclosures are accurate in the RFP with respect to substances. So we've documented that all of the light fixtures that were in the building that were of the appropriate age that may have had so-called PCBs in the ballasts, all those lights have been removed. All the guano was removed when the new roof was put on.
Yes.
The architect that did the study, now this is long before my time, but most of you were active in town, so you might remember the study that was done, like the 1999, 2000 timeframe. They went through with a very sensitive lead paint test and took some 26 samples inside and outside the building. They only found lead paint on the exterior paint, that green paint that was on the porch and the columns that held the little roof structure up. As you know, that's all been removed already. So there's still some green paint if you look along the decorative work above the first floor and maybe around the door frame on the back of the building. But for the most part, it's all gone already. So, but we're not going to be forcing the issue with any potential buyers, so that's kind of like checked off. All of the asbestos associated with the heating system was all removed pretty much at the same time as well. So it's kind of like they did everything all at once. I think the only open question that I have is the floor tile in the entryway. So when you first come in the door, you're stepping on what is a linoleum floor.
Yeah.
And I think people have said, oh, that's a 9 by 9 square, so that's a pretty good candidate. That was actually studied. Those tiles will have to be remediated as an asbestos remediation. Just, we don't have a duty to remove it. We have a duty to say that it's there, so that the price can reflect the work that they'll have to do to restore the building. But that's our only disclosure. Material disclosure, lead paint on the exterior and floor tiles on the first floor, entry level. So we're going to proceed now to get the RFP done. 'Cause my goal, I really wanted to close this before the end of this current fiscal year, which might be a challenge. At the same time, I don't want to beat a dead horse. If we have two bidders and they're both ready to close, we pick the best one, we'll just run to close. Because it's not going to be a ton of money, first of all.
Whoop.
Must be an expansion joint, this building, we weren't aware of. Sometimes birds fly into these
That's what it
windows.
sounded like.
But whatever we do get, it would be nice to get it to close to free cash so that we would just have a little bit
Yes.
of wiggle room for the year we're in. So that would be certified for October for the capital budget. You see how my thought process is?
Yes.
Okay. That's where I'm at with 11 Gleason. Any questions?
Any questions, anyone? Sounds okay. Yes? Okay, you'll keep us,
Yeah, so next time if I wait until April, maybe that's going to be the best time frame. Given all that we have. So your meeting in April is when? The week of the 15th?
Yeah.
April 16th,
16th.
and then May 21st.
So if you make your recommendation on the 16th, I'll miss the select board.
So,
Maybe what I might do in that instance then is, because the select board traditionally has a posted meeting right before town meeting on May 5th, if this committee is fine with the RFP and recommends it to go forward, I can put it on the select board agenda for May 5th, in which case I'd be able to get it into the central register and advertise, and we might still be able to award this right about the end of June, just before the fiscal year.
yeah,
Question.
yes.
So
Linda.
could Rebecca LaValle from Historical Commission be sent this
Oh, yeah.
probably when we get it?
I would, no, before you, because I would want
All right.
that feedback to come
Yeah.
through here, because
Okay.
that's how it started, so that's how it will finish.
Right,
Thanks.
yeah. Okay. Anyone? You're good? Okay, status of the oil spill is continuing the same?
It's pretty much the same.
Any questions on that?
I only want to flag for you, this was discussed at great length last night at the select board. Not the status of the spill itself, but the manner in which our insurance company,
I watched it,
and
yeah.
I was really disappointed with Maya because he was completely wrong. Like, we lived this, so we all remember.
Yeah.
This was capped at 500,000. We had to go to town meeting twice for additional funding to finish the work. And when the work was over, and we remember this, we told the environmental consultant who was advising the insurance company on what needed to be cleaned up, that we were going to do a peer review, and he resigned immediately. Remember that? It was kind of fishy. So then we did the peer review. I sent that peer review to Maya a long time ago. He says he never saw it. This is one of the reasons why we're agitated with our carrier, because it's not an acceptable conversation. And I, for one, feel that there's enough questions about why that claim was so large, that holding that claim over our heads as a reason to crank our rates 8% every year is bogus. They did not take that, so the Maya Trust Fund did not get exposed to 500,000, the full loss. They capped us at 500,000, and then they had traveler's paper for 250 of it. So what they actually paid out of the Maya Trust Fund, because municipalities are self-insured through Maya for property and casualty, was 250. Not 639. So they're writing our rates on this loss that I just don't think that's justified. But that's just me. I'm not an actuary, I'm not an underwriter, but I argue with them all the time. You don't get anything if you don't argue with them. That's why that conversation occurred last night, is because, why exactly are we paying 600 grand a year for property and casualty insurance? It's ridiculous.
No. Anyone, questions on that? You good? Linda?
No?
Yep. Okay, green communities. Where are we?
Madam Chair, we were awarded a $100,000 grant
Ooh,
for the LED lighting at the middle school. Contract was just signed yesterday, so our effective date, well, signed by us, should be signed by DOER soon. That'll give us an effective date to get started. We're hoping to do this. It's not going to be this fiscal year. We were trying to do it at April vacation for the contract. It just didn't work out. So we'll have to do it when school's up, either June or July, one or the other. But the appropriation from town meeting, the 30,000, would carry over into the next fiscal year if the project moves that way.
so sometime probably in July? Yeah.
Yeah, late June, maybe July.
Good. Anyone?
So our new lights are way cool. So last night I suggested that maybe I wanted the power to create lightning, because that would be really awesome. But I can do lighting,
Yeah.
from my phone. Anywhere
He's
in
like a kid with a new
town.
toy, right?
I got the neat feature of, I got new LED bulbs at my house that I can do it to too, and I got an app, and I'm like, oh, it's so much fun, you can change the colors on it.
Yep. Yeah, we can change the color. We're not going to get
I had
silly
a
about
green
it.
for a month, or I had a red for Valentine's Day, green for
Oh my
St. Patrick's Day.
Think
Now I
we're
got
all-
multiple colors for Easter.
And so what's really cool is you can get Christmas lights that are like
Yeah.
this too, right? With Philips is probably the best one.
Yeah.
And so from work, you can change, make the kids all think it's magical. It's kind
Oh,
of
my
cool,
God.
actually.
I don't know if you've been in the gym, but the gym lights are super bright. And I've asked some of the pickleballers when they were there if they liked it, they said they loved it.
Good.
Of course, they're not like basketball.
So, yeah.
If you're shooting,
Yeah, yeah.
you're getting
Yeah.
glare, I don't know.
So what we would do is we would take out our phone app and talk to the basketball guys about what they wanted.
Yeah.
So maybe brighter lights over the center and not on the edge, and that control does come with some things that really help us save money. And I think that's the
That's
important
good.
thing, is we can harvest daylight, so the lights will automatically dim depending on how much daylight's coming through the windows. And then there's motion sensors. So if there is nobody in the room, they turn off. Which, we have a little IQ test going on in the men's room here. The lights in the men's room are motion sensors. And yet, there is at least one or two individuals who consistently walk in and turn the switch.
Oh, gee.
The switch doesn't do anything. It's there, basically. I'm actually going to put one of those, those ink things that squirt when you pull a fire alarm? So whoever it is that keeps flicking that switch, I'll know who it is. So
Uh-oh.
to have a conversation about motion sensors. Motion sensors, though, are proven. They save a lot of money. And, but they also maintain safety, because as soon as they see you,
As long as it's on a reasonable timer, so you don't have to go.
yeah, no, yeah.
I've had that happen.
Yeah.
So it's infinitely sensitive, so
Oh, okay.
we've sent quite a few of those lights that need to be on all the time are not on motion sensors, so. For those of us who sit still in our office and work,
Yes.
it can be annoying, so
Yeah.
we're still on the switch up and down.
Hey,
Is that all for green communities, just?
I guess the only thing I think we should update the group on, Matt, is going forward, lighting projects are not going to be as accessible.
That's
And-
true. Especially for schools, the incentives for those are dried up at the end of the year,
Oh,
so we're not.
We're getting it all in under the wire.
yeah. Good. Okay. All right.
So it makes no sense to me, I'm going to protest, because I don't get many chances to protest, but the whole point of being green and energy efficient should be to target those things that are most offensive to the universe and address them. Light is low-hanging fruit. It's easy to save a lot of energy with relatively minimal expense by addressing lighting, so making the incentives go away is kind of dumb.
We still have the elementary school and the primary school, too.
The elementary school is a relatively new building, so,
Yeah.
but they're making us do this, the low-hanging fruit at our own expense, so we have less resources to apply toward the more expensive things that would save additional, whatever. They all think they know what they're doing, so they'll find out they don't.
Okay. So the next item is the municipal fire alarm. And you mentioned the last time something to do with their design and so forth.
Yeah, so we'll get moving on the design, probably put out a design RFQ once we get past, I'd like to get past the budget, to be honest, past the town meeting,
Okay,
before I start another project.
sure.
We've got some meetings coming up about this Depot Street, it's just, the calendar
Yeah.
fills up with projects.
Understand. Yep,
And it's not an urgent thing, because I think our conversation with the capital committee is really around getting our documents up there properly handled, digitized so we have the backup, and moved to another location in the town hall, that there would be more environmentally managed. So, a space with climate control and
Yeah.
away from water and all the rest of it, before we get too excited about putting sprinklers over the top of it. So
okay. Anyone?
we won't do any improvements to the building on the fire alarm side until the fire suppression service comes in from the street. That's the beginning of the construction time.
I have a question.
Sure.
So when is that construction time?
So we're meeting Friday, we're going to kick off the Depot Street improvements.
So it'll be this
This summer.
Yeah.
This summer isn't going to be all that pleasant for driving around, because between our paving projects and this water project here, some well-traveled roads will be dug up.
Okay. All right, next item is fire station upgrading. Where are we?
So we're re-strategizing, should I put it that way? Because we moved the ARPA money away from this, so we wouldn't lose the ARPA money. We have quite a bit of money that's set aside by town meeting. My goal is to do the construction work first. It has to happen before anything else can happen. So it was also the part of the RFP where respondents really inflated their cost, because what they were trying to do is get a markup on all the subcontracting work. So the GCs came in at like $200,000 for about $30,000-$40,000 worth of work. So I want to break that apart. It's because it's discrete, right? We're building, was basically just going to hang some studs and put a wall in to sequester the air on one side, keep the bay separate from habitable space. And none of that requires the electrical or HVAC work. So it's, as far as I'm concerned, we can call it a distinct process. It's not bid splitting, it's not splitting the project, but it's going to be much more cost effective for the town. And what we're going to do with that design is make sure that any electrical outlets or anything else contemplated by the electrical and HVAC drawings, which we have paid for and own, are built into that wall. And then we'll be off and running from there. Then I think this is one of the things that'll be a wild card for fall special town meeting, is how much do we certify for free cash, and how much of that will be available to supplement the money that, the ARPA money that we moved away from the project to get the project done. If, so we're making sausage here, right? It's going to be ugly. If after the GC finishes their work and we have enough money, irrespective of whether town meeting has more money to allocate to the project or chooses not to, we would still have enough money to do the generator. And because it's a public safety building, I would like the generator to be the proper size and functionality. That is the one thing we got out of the lightning strike that we have to fix, is the backup electrical power in the building. So there's a plan A, which is do it all, do it right, do it the first time and be all done with it. And plan B is if we have to piecemeal it, we would do the construction and the backup electricity. Because that will set the stage for HVAC to be a distinct project. What we will do, it's not really in this agenda item, but close enough. Town meeting approved money for the fire station roof some years ago. There's still enough money in the, so even though roofing projects have gotten more expensive, there's still enough money in that account, based on the quotes we've gotten, to do the project. We're going to do that project this summer. So you'll see the, because all of the work that we're thinking of doing electrically and for HVAC, none of it involves drilling a hole through the roof or interrupting the roof lines. So we have set that aside now. It's not an issue. We're not going to be putting things on top of that roof. So we're just going to go ahead. The roof needed to be done 2-3 years ago, so now we're going to hop to get it done. That was $75,000, I believe. And our highest quote so far, we've got 3 quotes. The highest was 68. So I think we're all right.
Really?
It's not a complicated roof.
So was that recently, the 68?
Yeah, so John, Chief Furno's been getting these,
Okay,
pulling these in.
okay. Any other questions, anybody? Okay.
Now, everybody's favorite topic. We little brown housed ourselves to death last night, I'm sure.
Yes. And Capital couldn't see it say.
It's never going to make the grade. I can tell you honestly, it's just never going to make the grade. So I don't make policy decisions, right? I just tee them up. The select board makes policy decisions. What I've informed the board is that they are the chief policymaking board in town, and they have access to the warrant. They can put things on the warrant. So if they want to just advance the project as a separate freestanding, standalone project, say, we're going to go to town meeting and ask for money to tear this house down, they can do that. Which I think is really you don't want to the capital process works. There's just always going to be these examples of buildings that never rise to the fore because they're not occupied. So they're just never going to implicate the health of our employees or the public, and so they're not going to get a high enough score, but they still need to be taken care of. They really do. So the Raccoon condominium will be here for a little while. Again, this is kind of contingent on where we close out the year. And the way I did the budget this year, I left all of the upside potential out of the conversation. So if there was anything even remotely questionable, I didn't put it in the budget, including cool stuff, like we're eventually going to get a personal property tax evaluation on the contents of the warehouse, not the one in Douglas, the one across 146, the super high-tech robotic thing. 7% of a lot is a lot. but I'm not putting that in the, it's because it hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
I don't want to rely upon the money arriving. But if you think what I'm saying is that there's an opportunity here for either the new growth number to be bigger than we anticipate, or free cash to be bigger next year than we anticipate. But
But you're saying 7%.
70 grand is the estimate to tear down the Little Brown House, which is driven by the asbestos issue. And maybe we could get it done for less after we do the asbestos remediation. We could whack away at it ourselves with highway. But that's not really what we do. It's not an area of expertise for us, so I'm a little reluctant to go down that way. That's for the other buildings. We already discussed 11 Gleason. So that's all I've got on those.
Okay. Questions, anyone? Linda, you're good?
No?
Okay. The Library Board of Trustees, they're not here, but I think
Nothing's changed in our dialogue with them.
no change, right? Okay. Anyone?
They're wondering out loud about an ADA self-evaluation. And
That's been going on for a while.
they talk about it because they want to get a score so they can apply for grants. My problem with it is, if I know I'm having a really bad hair day, do I really want to look in the mirror?
And your point?
I know I'm having a bad hair day. If I look in the mirror and take a picture and put the picture on the internet, then everybody sees that I'm having a bad hair day. So I'm not entirely sure the wisdom of documenting our shortfalls. I hate to be that practical, but sometimes you have to be, and I think that's where I'm at.
I have kind of an update. At our last master plan meeting, I think CMRPC was going to try to help out the library, because they did a town tour, and they stopped at the library, and they said, gee, there might be grants that we could help you with. So that was the talk. I don't know where that went, but master plan will be meeting tonight. So
Yeah. But as much as I value the contributions CMRPC makes to the town, sometimes their perspective as a regional planning agency may not be as grounded in the practical constraints of the town as we
But at
are.
least they could give them a little bit of direction.
A little bit, yeah.
What is the CMRPC?
Central Mass Regional Planning Commission. They help planning board and stuff like that.
If you ever wanted to go to a really whiz-bang dynamic planning luncheon, we can make you our delegate to the,
I'm busy then.
I think Chairman Bonin would be thrilled if you took his place.
Oh, you don't have to be selectman to go to that?
You're just designated by the selectmen.
Ah.
Trust me. Just go get yourself a tuna sandwich. You don't need to go.
Oh, boy. Any questions on,
Sorry.
okay. If not, upgrade to Douglas wastewater treatment.
This you can take off your agenda because it is no longer
yeah.
a discussion point.
Yes.
I thought we were going to do that last time.
Yeah, well,
I think you did.
Maybe.
all right. We're good? Regarding the projects,
There's something that we might want to add onto the next agenda.
Oh, boy.
It's the MVP grant that I'm applying for.
Oh, yeah.
the what?
So I'm applying for an MVP grant to handle the flooding at the fire station that takes place there
Yes.
every year, and kind of sketches the gas station a little bit,
Gee, why don't you come up my way on Oak Street?
right? So I'm applying.
We're just going to take Oak Street and make it a big gully. right?
I'm sorry.
And you'll have to.
And you
buy
can rent
both.
canoes, you can rent
Thanks.
canoes at the top, you'll have to port it back up, but
So we'll make G.
a slip and slide, that's what it'll be. It'll be
Sorry.
We'll put
I'm
Fortune out of
sorry.
business.
I interrupted. Go ahead.
So with the
Then
grant,
he'll be bad, right? Then he'll be all over.
we met with the stormwater engineer on site with a bunch of different grant authorities, the SNEP, the SEC, and the Blackstone Regional Collaborative is kind of working with us for our grant. Our stormwater engineer identified a few sources of the flooding, and one of them is probably the sand coming off the highway department, clogging up our infrastructure and blocking it from releasing water. So one of the proposals is to put a roof over the sand shack, so that'd be a building possibly, and possibly paving the parking lot for the highway department. I don't think that part is going to happen since we're talking about moving the highway department onto a different property. But there's also an opportunity to install a bunch of green infrastructure on the fire station property, and coming down Rydell Road, there's a bunch of water that comes off of there too. It all contributes to an area where the water doesn't drain,
Yeah.
because it's all getting clogged up with sand and anything off the highway department
Yeah.
parking lot. So they identified a few ideas that we're going to be applying for. The grant is due April 2nd or 3rd, whichever the Tuesday is. So if it does include putting a roof on the sand, sand bin, whatever that is, that could be a structure, so that might be something we're concerned with at this group.
So that will be done prior to our next meeting in April.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just a little, take a step back here. MVP means Municipal Vulnerability Preparedness, right?
Yes.
Grants, so we already went through the planning process. That was the contingency. We had to go through the planning process to identify areas where we're vulnerable due to changes in climate, changes in, really for us, our built environment. So as we get more and more built up, that's part of it too. And I feel like sometimes people may misinterpret. There is no flooding in the fire station, the building itself.
Right.
There is a culvert that captures a lot of the runoff from both Rydell and Main at the corner of the fire station property.
Yeah.
And it goes under the road over to Centerville Brook, I believe that
Yes.
is.
Yep.
And like all culverts, like all drainage structures, if you put enough sand in it, the water won't flow fast enough to drain, and it backs up and then crosses over Main Road,
Yeah.
Main Street. I'm never going to get the Main Road thing out of my head. That's the problem of working where I've worked. So then you have puddles on both sides, which obviously contributes to the deterioration of Main Street at that location. So for us, the more runoff we get, the bigger this problem becomes. But because we're in flux at the highway department, you know, what exactly should we do? We don't want to invest, we didn't even change the light bulbs in the place because we think we're not going to be using it anymore. So I think the one, I don't think we're moving the sand right away, so I don't think it's necessarily a bad conversation to say that we might put some form of angled roof over it so we direct the water away from the sand. But you're still going to have an unpaved lot. There are storm drain technologies that exist where, you know, you can make the water swirl around and push the sediment off to the side and clean it out on a regular basis to prevent that sediment from going further down and blocking structures. There's things that we can do. Obviously, it's in the design discussion. My biggest hope is that we take care of the water so that, because we're going to be fixing Main Street in that location, we've got to run water up to the new highway barn, right? And there are some things that we might want to do past Rydell just to resolve the breakup of the road. As part of a bigger project, it becomes a lot, quote-unquote, cheaper. It's relatively cheaper. It's not a discrete paving project. So thinking ahead, that might be a really good way to get that roadway resolved, is if we start with MVP to handle the drainage, then we wouldn't have to make the drainage part of the project.
Yeah.
But there's a match, right? All MVP grants have.
No, we're a
there's
rural
match.
community, this one does not have a match. So we're a first-time applicant. Yep. We could apply for up to 2 million per project, so
Ooh,
that's where I was like, parking lot? Might get us there.
Yeah, I just don't like the idea of
Yeah.
any more impervious surfaces. I don't think
Right.
that's going to be, that's actually going to make things worse.
Yeah, it helps control the stormwater better.
yeah.
Versus what you have now, but it also makes it flow faster, so,
That,
Velocity's not our friend.
yeah, that's been a problem for a long time.
yeah.
Okay, keep us,
So do we want to add this to the agenda or not?
Yeah.
So what would you
Yes.
like this called, Matt?
Call it MVP, because I think that's really.
For the highway or the fire station?
MVP grant for the fire station drainage.
Okay.
It's also, so the issues that we're putting on the grant application are the flooding prevents emergency vehicles from getting out of the fire station. That's a huge deal. The second
yes.
piece is any of the stormwater that ends up at the gas station might carry some contaminants into Center Brook.
Absolutely.
So those are the two big punch items that we're probably going to get awarded for.
okay,
Isn't there a detention pond there?
Yeah, on the front of the fire station.
yeah,
That's not functioning?
yeah.
That's the one, that's the.
Yeah, there's a culvert that goes under the road and onto private property,
Yeah.
but I think, and there's another infrastructure on the other side of the road, and there's a pipe, but I don't think it goes anywhere. I think it just dead ends, and that gets blocked up, and then you have your flooding problem.
Okay,
And I think it was a Buff-Terrian special. That's what John Furno told me.
and
There's
he knows.
more than one of those.
Yeah.
He knows, yes. All right. So we will cross out the upgrade to Douglas wastewater treatment
Yeah.
plant, get rid of that, and put on the MVP grant for fire station and whatever else is needed. Okay. Anything else? Any questions? Up to 2 million.
Only other thing that is coming up for townwide discussion is we have some puddling on the landfill, on the capped portion,
On the bottom slope or?
capped portion on the top. So our Board of Health is on it, right? So we've been consulting with DEP on the proper fix, which gets complicated, right? Because you don't want to touch the cap. I was excited to find out we had a cap. I had always assumed that it was wasn't capped, or wasn't completely capped.
It wasn't, it was not completely capped. They ran out, the state ran out of money. And I think we needed at least one more, if not two.
Yeah. So if your memory serves you well, you might want to speak to someone on the Board of Health, whether it's Mr. Skinner or Mr. Brazo or Kristen here in the office,
Okay.
because your historical knowledge might help DEP figure out what the best solution is. That's probably going to require a special article in town meeting, depending on the solution that's picked.
This May?
Not this, no,
Oh.
no, either in the fall or the May of 2026. But it has to be addressed, because you can't have that, you can't have pooling. So,
So is this something they've noticed recently? And you're telling me this hasn't been there before?
well, you're going to notice it at some point for the first time. So I think that's where we're at.
So it must be collapsing if it's pooling.
We like the word subsiding.
That's too
Are you
gentle.
having a bad day?
I can talk from now until the end of the year about landfills, because when I was
So can
on the
we-
governor's staff in Rhode Island, my charge from my boss was to learn everything I could about the central landfill and basically give everybody a hard time about it. And went from there to Tiverton, where I was a town manager, and the only town anywhere in southern New England that still had an active landfill that was being built. It has since gone into a closure phase, but I had to be part of all the planning. So you want to talk landfills, I'm talking landfills. They're all ticking time bombs, every single one of them. All kinds of issues could come up, no matter how big, no matter how small, no matter how much orange iron feeding bacteria washes out of the bottom of it, blah, 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 all that stuff, right? There are some that are more concerning than others. I think it really, in the grand scheme of things,
Yeah.
Douglas's responsibility is to make sure it continues to maintain its pile until it finally subsides down to be less of an issue. But right now, you've got an issue. You've got puddling. It's not okay. It has to be fixed. DEP's involved, so that's not going to be a lot of choice. You know, they're going to pick their ideal solution, and they're going to basically tell us we have to do it.
Especially when it's upstream of our wells on
So-
West Street.
So
Yep.
what the chorus through the valley was, it's not when, it's not, is it going to
Yeah.
fail? It's when. Okay.
So we don't have to add that, but it's just for,
Yeah, I mean, so, again, what is the definition of facilities in the title of this committee, right?
Building
well,
and
the transfer
facility.
station is a facility.
Yeah.
Well, the landfill's a facility. It just happens to be closed right now. But
Yeah. All right.
Do you want to add that or no?
We'll wait till we get the word.
yeah,
Okay.
some things are less amenable to public discussion when they're just in the formative, but you've been briefed.
Yes. Okay. Anybody? Anything? Okay. We have 2 sets of minutes.
May I be excused, Madam Chair?
Yes.
As always, it's good to see all of you.
Thank you for your input.
We're very busy, so I'm going to keep
Yep,
pushing the football down the field if I can. Thank you, guys.
thank you, thank you.
You've edited your minutes, drop them off, I'll take them.
Sure.
Okay, great.
She can have mine after we're done. I'll bring them over.
Okay, thank you.
So we have, oh, maybe,
January ones.
yeah, and I'm not sure I have January 1. Hold on. I don't. I didn't bring my book.
Well, we had a whole bunch of corrections,
Yes.
and I did give all the corrections to Jen,
Yep. And you're good with them?
and she did all the corrections, so the new one, to me, is good to go as is. Unless anybody else, because they were emailed to us with the corrections that I had.
Can we pass those around for a few minutes? Do you have them? January
I
1?
think everybody else should. Yeah, I got them tonight in my
Maybe emailed them,
packet.
but I don't have them in front of me.
They made
I've
the
got the-
correct, they made the corrections that we suggested.
Yeah. Do you want to
Yeah,
wait
just-
then, or go ahead?
Just, let me see what you've got there. That's, this is January 15th. I have.
Correct.
I have those. Yep. Okay. All right.
I'll make a motion to approve the January 15th, 2025 meetings minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Linda, seconded by Bob. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, thank you. And then we have February 19th.
I had a couple of corrections on page 2. Oh, it's not numbered.
I've got them. Yep. Okay.
Let's see. At the the end of letter E, it should say, with the building committee's opinion that it should be taken down as soon as possible. And that's the little brown house.
Yep.
So add the word down.
Yep.
And then G, it just says, we discussed the wastewater treatment thing with Berkowitz, with about wastewater energy, but it didn't, and he explained what his proposal involves, but it doesn't say what the result was that Matt Wojcik, well, I put Berkowitz plans on sending untreated waste to our plant. Mr. Wojcik said, we will no longer entertain this project,
Okay.
which was pretty much what he said, I think.
Yeah.
Okay, so I will give that
Two.
to Jen.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve the February 19th, 2025 meeting minutes as amended.
Second.
Motion made by Linda, seconded by Bob. Motion made as amended. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any further discussion? Nope. Okay, thank you. And we have upcoming meetings, again, as mentioned, April 16th, 2025, and May 21st, 2025. And again, I appreciate you letting me know if you are not able to attend. Any further discussion that we haven't? I think we're good. Matt and the two Matts have brought up issues that are upcoming. All right, if no further discussion, anybody want to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved at 10:56 a.m.
Do I hear a second? Seconded by Fred. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, thank you very much.